10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is January 17th, and we're going to get started here with some news of the Prague Electra upgrade, or Petra, or Prague. Yeah, we don't know what's going to be called yet, but Prague Electra is the official name, but I think it's going to be called Petra. So here Tim Baiko says, yesterday I went over the Electra Prague thread on the ETH Magicians forum and the Consensus Layer GitHub issue, and both updated the thread with a summary, but also put the proposals so far in visual form. Figured it could be valuable to share here. A couple of takeaways: on the execution layer side, we have more proposals to sort through than on the consensus layer, although the consensus layer has a greater share of proposals that could affect the execution layer versus completely independent ones. And both Verkle and DAS are big enough to probably be their own largely unique forks, but nothing else appears to be, although large clusters such as EOF and SSZ could in aggregate. This is, we could get into this more on the all core devs execution, but hopefully this provides a good basis for teams to start using for prioritization. So let's have a look at the diagram and see what's here. So there's a whole bunch of updates on the execution layer. There's a bunch of updates on the consensus layer. And there's just a few updates on the consensus layer, and then a handful of updates that are consensus and execution layer upgrades. So this is not a final list by any means of what's going to be going into Prague Electra. That it looks like it'll either be coming around November this year, or more likely actually will be Q1 next year. So maybe a year from now, pretty much, maybe like 13 or 14 months from now, Q1. We don't know for sure exactly when it'll be, but that seems to kind of be the idea, because there's a whole lot of stuff in here. Now, that does not mean that everything in this upgrade will make it to the next Ethereum hard fork. If it gets pruned significantly, and there's stuff that could be implemented earlier, then we could see this broken into two hard forks, where we'll get Prague Electra maybe in Q3 this year, and then another one in Q1 or Q2 next year in 2025. So there's a lot of speculation at the moment about what's going to go into which hard fork, but the main thing is, the reason why we're covering it here is because there's a couple of these hard forks that could be going into Prague Electra that are important for Rocket Pool, and these are EIP 7002 and EIP 7251, which are execution layer triggerable exits for stake, and also increased max effective balance. There might be others that come up as well later, and like I said, this list is not final. So here Patches says that Electra is going to be lit, and people are talking about what's going on with that. And here Invis says nobody said all of these would actually be in the fork, just that these are the ones up for consideration, because there's a whole lot of upgrades that are going in there. Here Halulo says there's lots of lobbying for 7002, which is forced exits, and there's a lot of positivity about that. So later on in the day, here non-fungible Yoakum came back with some information about the increasing max effective balance, the EIP 7251. So he says it looks like a mechanic for consolidating validators within the beacon chains in the current proposal, which is great for mega pools. He says it's deeply tied to EIP 7002, which is forced exits for setting up a per validator maximum effective balance. He says this is also good for mega pools. So then there's a link to the Ethereum Substack. If you want to go and read that, you can do that. But then the discussion kind of started about what it means to be merging or consolidating, and that was kind of like a pedantic discussion that happened. Jasper says, I really hope that it would allow for mass consolidation in one transaction. But then here non-fungible Yoakum says, reading the specification in the article, by that definition it's a merger, as the balance of the source validator gets transferred to a target validator. And then Invis says, where does it mention the transfer between validators? And then he copies the text saying that it moves the balance, and that's a transfer. And then in Patches says that there's the way that he read it initially, there's a scope for potential theft from from the merging or consolidating or transferring, whatever you want to call it. And then here Invis says signature by the withdrawal address is required. So it might be a nothing. So it's nothing burger for stuff like Rocket Pool and Lido, because and then there was some more discussion here about let me see where it is. Valdorf says, au contraire, this is not a nothing burger. It could allow for migration to megapools, which I thought impossible. And then here Invis as well says that it requires signature by the withdrawal address of the validator, something we aren't able to provide as we have a smart contract as the withdrawal address. And then Patches says, can you explain that a little bit more? And Invis says, it's important to know that according to standard protocol, a consolidation operation moves the balance of a source validator to a target validator and is signed by the source validator's withdrawal credential and the target validator signing key. This statement underscores the necessity for a signature from both the source validator's withdrawal credential and the target validator signing key in such operations. However, in our situation, this requirement presents a logistical hurdle, as our setup with the smart contract, as the withdrawal address does not conform to the traditional framework that allows for such a signature. This discrepancy between our system's configuration and the standard protocol requirements thus result in our inability to comply with the process as it is typically executed. And Patches says, I think I see now, because of this two-stage deposit. And then there was some more discussion going on here about how the withdrawal credential is set to the mini pool contract. And then there's say more, and then there's a whole lot more as well. So if you want to read that, Invis was, I think, relying on some chat GPT help there for explaining his point, but there's definitely some logistical hurdles here that need to be worked out and figured out. But in very much, this is exciting stuff, and I think it's going to be really good for Rocket Pool and I guess other staking providers as well going forward. But getting us to that mega pool design would be absolutely amazing. By the time Saturn 2 comes around, it would be really exciting. Okay, that's just more of what Invis was saying. Okay, so next we have an update on here, which is an update on Nethermind. So Nethermind had that issue with the smart node stack not thinking that it was fully synced. So here they have a new version of 1.25.1. So this is mainly about has information on the Goerli and Chiado. I don't know what that is. Interesting. Chiado, that might be the difference in the Sepolia execution and consensus layer names. I'm not sure. Yeah, it seems like the dates match up. So we have some issues with that, but they also have the fixed ETH syncing invalid behavior. So the ETH syncing method misbehaves for those who upgraded from the older version to the latest one. It returns syncing when the node was fully synced. This version addresses that issue, so it properly returns the sync status. So that's good, because there was some issues that Rocket Pool users were having with this the previous upgrade of Nethermind. So you can change the tags now in your Rocket Pool service config to update to 1.25.1, and then you'll be all set. Okay, next we have this video from Chico Crypto, who is a YouTuber who has 320,000 subscribers, so quite a significant amount, a huge audience. And this video of his got nearly 20,000 views a day ago, so it's quite substantial. And here he's talking about his crypto portfolio revealed, the top 10 coins that he's holding, and here he talks about Rocket Pool being one of them, and he's holding, this is the number 8 token that he has, and Gnosis is number 9, and he's holding them as 5% of his portfolio each. So he goes on to explain about Rocket Pool here. So he's quite a significant crypto YouTuber, and he's got quite a big audience. So the fact that he's talking about Rocket Pool here is actually really cool. Yeah, I thought I'd give that a little bit of a shout, because that's really interesting. So some of the other tokens that he's holding, he's actually going altcoin heavy, really. He's holding Chainlink at 15%, GMX at 13%, Ethereum at 12%, Bitcoin at 10%, Ordinals at 8%, Casper at 7%, Illuvium at 6%, and then RPL at 5%, and Gnosis at 5%, and I don't know what his last one is. Yeah, here's the full breakdown. But yeah, that's fine. If you want to have a look at that, you can go out and have a look at that. But I just thought it's interesting because, you know, it's good that the RPL token is getting some attention here from prominent YouTubers. And, you know, it was mentioned on Coin Bureau a couple of weeks ago as well, and just in passing, not as a focal point of a video. And now, you know, it's getting mentioned here with like Chico Crypto. And the interesting thing he said in this video is that he's actually a node operator as well. So I was curious about whether or not he's actually a rocket fuel watcher. That would be really interesting. So if he's a node operator, right, like, you know, the rocket fuel is a really good source of information for node operators. So that's cool to see. Okay, yesterday we had it was hard fork day on the testnets for Goerli, and here we had just after midnight Eastern time, well, just around 1:30 a.m. Eastern time, we got this post from Tim Biko saying Goerli forked, and things are being monitored. And then there is the blob. If you want to see, it's like a blobfish on the logs that comes up, and you know, we now have blobs. So people were talking about it in Discord right away, and of course, as always, it's in Viz, who's saying that take a shot for every validator goes down during the Denkun hard fork on Goerli. And then Dukey says, did it go well? He says it's happening in 44 seconds, and then right away the sync participation dropped to 50%, so less than 50%. So that was definitely something that was not expected or not good. However, you know, going into the hard fork, the participation levels were a lot lower than mainnet to begin with. So there was some, you know, there was an expectation that a lot of people who are running Goerli nodes might not have updated their clients to, you know, accept the blobs. So there was, but this number I think was a bit higher than just the lack of updates happening. So as time went on, we, you know, after a little while, I think it was just an hour and a half, we got this from Terrence, who said Prism encountered a bug right at Goerli's hard fork. The bug has been identified and the fix is currently being merged. A hot patch image will be released within the next few hours. Sorry for the inconvenience and thank you for your patience. So as you can see then here, you know, the percentages were like, you know, 48%, 58%, 54%, 57%, 54%. So a whole lot of non-finality was taking place, and that obviously isn't good. Then, you know, a little while later, about 5:20 a.m., Parithosh here had an update saying that the Goerli fork has finalized after the fix. So this is the Prism patch. After the fix was patched in, the validators came back online and the chain started finalizing again. The MEV circuit breaker automatically disables, and MEV blocks have started flowing through as well. So yay, client diversity. So this is fantastic. And then he said, we're seeing a healthy number of blobs submitted to the network. You can expect deeper analysis over the next few days. We'll be relying heavily on Zatu for the data. And there's a link. And then he says, tune into the all core devs for a full incident report. But I do want to mention that we went from fork to issue to triage to fix to finality in under 4 hours. The debugging apparatus has gotten great, which is actually like a huge sign of like confidence here, because, you know, there was an issue that was identified. Sorry, the fork happened, the issue was identified and figured out like really, really quickly. And not only did it happen, but the fix was put out and it got to finality, which is absolutely fantastic. So this is a huge shout out to the core devs who are working on this at Prism and elsewhere to get all this fixed, and a successful hard fork, you know, after 4 hours. But this was the point of the testnet, right? Goerli is an old deprecated testnet. Like, people have been like leaving it for months now. Like, Rocket Pool doesn't even offer updates for Goerli anymore, I think, through the smart node stack. So these are the kind of things that, you know, could have impacted the hard fork. And thankfully everything looks good now. Next is on to Sepolia, and then on to Haleshki within the next 2 weeks. Like, each one's taking place one week after the other. So that's really, really exciting to see. And then before finality had happened, here CoinDesk released this article saying that it's failing to finalize, but then of course, you know, we know that within a couple of hours after that, everything did finalize, which was really cool. Okay, so here I wanted to cover this tweet from Jasper where he says, look familiar, it's a rocket pool model. Let's go back one step and see what's going on over here. So David Hoffman put out a tweet yesterday saying, hey, what's the biggest question you have about EigenLayer? Let's see if we can get them answered, right? So DC Investor said, do they have plans to introduce an architecture which does not just restake ETH, but also allows for non-layer 1 proof of stake staked deposits to participate? And then here we have Kaido, who works with EigenLayer, saying that you could have a dual staking model, which you would have native token A staked and external token like ETH staked, and these will come together to provide the services. And then Jasper here says that, does that look familiar? It's the rocket pool model. So then Kaido says, wait, how? Please link, sir. I would love to learn more. Jasper says, in very broad terms, rocket pool has dual staking as well. The primary ETH collateral and secondary RPL collateral. The RPL DAO acts as a check on the entire process. However, it's not as nuanced as the EigenLayer evolution. The dual staking you all present is definitely a step forward. So this is, Jiawe asks like 8 ETH and 2.4 ETH worth of RPL for 8 ETH mini pools, and Jasper says yes. So this is really interesting that this the bonding of tokens, like going to a 2-token system, in part, EigenLayer could be doing something like that, which is kind of exciting. And then, like Jasper says, it does look somewhat familiar to what Rocket Pool is doing, which is always cool. Okay, moving on from actually we just talked about EigenLayer for a second, but like moving away from Rocket Pool for a second, here we had MadMat in the Discord yesterday posting a screenshot of Nico from Diva Staking replying about when Diva will be launching. And let's actually go to the Diva Discord to have a closer look. So Chris.eth says Q1 mainnet, sir. Will Diva be launching in QNet 1? Q1 for mainnet, and Nico says that's correct. Chris is very much looking forward to it. Nico says we all are. It's very exciting. So now this actually brings up a few questions, right? Because we weren't expecting Diva to be launching in Q1. We want, from people who are kind of familiar with Diva and with how these things kind of go, they were saying, Q2, maybe in Q3 would be more realistic. But here, Nico from Diva Staking was saying Q1 is when they want to go live. So Noshua, of course, asks the question, can you share when the audits have started, will start? So you have to remember, right, when the audit starts, you need many weeks post, like the audit process takes many weeks. So just like Houston upgrade for Rocket Pool, the audit started, I think, in October or November, and now we're currently undergoing the second round of audits. So this whole process, for Rocket Pool can take many, many months, like 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 months in some cases, depending on how we want community testing to happen as well. So if the audits haven't started yet, then the expectations of Diva going live in Q1 are extremely unrealistic. So to that post there was no reply, which was really interesting, because that, I think, is at kind of the crux of the discussion in the next stage. And then here people were talking about, when is the token going to launch? And Petra says, the token has launched, but it's non-transferable and likely to be transferable after we're getting closer to mainnet release. And he shares some information from the docs here saying Diva mainnet is expected by Q1, Q2 after the Denkun fork, and once the code is completed and fully audited. So as far as I know, all three things in this have not happened yet, right? So the Denkun fork, of course, has not happened yet. The code, I think, as far as I know, is not complete, and definitely not fully audited yet. So then Pateris came into, of course, he's a rocket scientist. The Rocket Pool Discord says, I don't think that person knows when Diva will launch. The staking foundation should not have the inside knowledge from Shamir Labs, who are the developers. It says, I think this is the most accurate statement thus far, which I just read out about after the Denkun fork and once code is complete and fully audited. And this is Denkun is not even on any testnet yet. This was yesterday. Their next testnet release has been delayed by, I think, 4 weeks already. They'll probably go to ETH Denver, and that's a lot of dev time lost. However, over here, Miko was asked about going to Denver this year, and he says, I'll skip this year personally. I need a break after Dev Connect Istanbul. So I think, the dev team at Diva are heads down working hard, so much so that they might be skipping Denver this year as well. Yeah, Pateras had a little bit more information about the launch. He says, the end of Q1 as end of March. If they release their final version by end of January, that's 2-month public testnet. It's like Stader level YOLO, and that's without the audits or anything like that as well, because I don't know if they're happening or if they've happened yet. So there's a lot of question marks around this, and I think that they need to well, we don't know yet what's going to happen, but I think Q1 is definitely way too optimistic, and I think Nosho actually put it as Q3, maybe even Q4 potentially timeline for mainnet launch, because of using other staking services like Stakewise, even Rocket Pool. They're like adjusted timelines as we got closer to launch, how that got pushed further and further back. But he is hoping they launch soon and everything goes smooth for them, because I want my tokens. I'm just kidding. Like, it'd be great for them to come online. Okay, finally, I'm going to end with this post, this comment in trading from Royal Canadian ETH Force, who says, just finished a year-long flying course where I haven't had much time to spare or energy. And he says, your podcast is replying to me saying, your podcast has been perfect for keeping up to date on all things Rocket Pool. Thanks, Whack. And then there's this really cool picture. That's the main reason why I'm posting it here, of this aeroplane number 122 that is way too close to aeroplane 106. They're flying in formation, of course, and that's really exciting. So yeah, it's really nice when people like send a message of support and thanks like this. It's truly appreciated. Like, it warms my heart so much. So thank you, Royal Canadian ETH Force, and congratulations on finishing your year-long flying course. And I really hope that you get everything you want out of your certification or whatever comes next for you with this. But it looks like what you're doing is pretty cool, so that's awesome. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I will see you all tomorrow, and I hope you all have a lovely day. Bye.